rushing to be ready in the event of a lockdown. These are just some of the millions of residents stockpiling essentials after authorities sparked fears of an impending lockdown. Government assurances that there is enough food have done little to dissuade cautious locals, with queues forming outside some supermarkets. While in others, aisles ended up nearly bare of sought-after products like fresh meat. Supermarket chains have boosted stock levels and extended opening hours in a bid to keep up with the increased demand. But some locals are anxious about the future. We're afraid that if deliveries are cut off, supplies won't meet demand. Seeing so many people buying food at the same time made me a little nervous, but actually the situation is still okay. Only 70 COVID cases have been discovered in the city of 21 million since the outbreak was first detected on Friday. But authorities have responded with the same strict zero COVID toolkit China has used throughout the pandemic. Mass testing is already underway here in Beijing's biggest district, where most of the cases have been found and where some residential compounds have already been placed under lockdown. Officials say testing will be expanded to all but 5 of the city's remaining districts on Tuesday. Residents will be hoping that a Shanghai-style lockdown won't be next, but until they know more, many will keep preparing for the worst.
Beijing has ordered mass coronavirus testing for nearly all of its 21 million residents. Only 70 cases have been found in China's capital since last Friday. Beijing health authorities insist the virus can still be brought under control. But the testing order has sparked panic, buying of food and other basics over fears of a Shanghai-style lockdown. Still, Beijing residents willing to speak on camera believe their city is prepared.
I don't think there's anything to worry about. The news yesterday said there are a lot of vegetables, and the supplies will last for 30 days. So I'm not worried at all.
My old colleague is in Shanghai. He had difficulties because the lockdown came as a surprise, so preparations weren't in place. We won't have such a big problem in Beijing. Everyone just needs to sit tight. I believe this day will pass. I'm confident.
Joining me now from Beijing is journalist Fabian Kretschmer. Fabian, the mood appears to have drastically changed in Beijing just within this past week.
Yeah, actually only within a couple of days. I mean, the authorities have detected an infection cluster and said it spread unidentified for roughly a week before. One case was linked to a travel group, one other case was linked to a school, and since then we've basically went into mass testing. As you can see behind me, there are lots of those testing stations, and each of them basically conducts thousands and thousands of PCR tests every day. And the mood, I would say, among the people, we try to stay upbeat. When I talk to residents, they try to stay outdoors as much as possible because we are fearing a possible potential lockdown. Many have stockpiled food. Actually, everyone that I know have bought, canned vegetables, a lot of rice, etc., to be prepared. And some have even bought new freezers and fridges, because that's the key. You have to store as much food as possible when it comes to a lockdown.
I mean, just the basics of life, isn't it? But Fabian, besides mandatory testing, how are authorities planning to curb this latest surge in infections?
Yeah, I mean, the mass testing is the first step. Also, we are discouraged from, gathering, and, big facilities have been shut. But then the next step is already the lockdown. And even though the authorities will not name it, I mean, it's already happening. Today, I've already visited several residential compounds who've been sealed off. And when I say residential compound, I'm talking about 10,000 residents living there, sometimes even more. And they cannot leave their complex. So it's starting. And the question is only how extensive the lockdown will be and how long it will last. So there's a critical point of no return, and when that has been reached, then basically a citywide lockdown has to be implemented, because what we know for sure is the authorities will stick to their zero COVID approach. They've made that more than clear, so they really want to contain everything, and they basically want to eradicate the virus out of the city.
People in Beijing have certainly seen the visuals coming out of Shanghai. Beijing is confident that if it came to tighter measures, the government will be able to manage the situation?
Well, especially here in Beijing, as well as in Shanghai, some are really quite skeptical. I mean, I would say it's pretty much split 50-50. Some would say it's better to open up and, get the vaccination rates high and focus on that. But, some are also confident that it might work, because in the past it has worked. I mean, in Shenzhen, for example, they have imposed a citywide lockdown, and after 7 days they opened up again. However, what we're seeing in Shanghai is really not very encouraging. But, you have to also see that the leading virologist, the leading health expert here, Zhong Nanshan, he has recently published an academic publication where he said that we cannot keep forever our zero COVID policy. And even that publication has been censored here in China.
Right.
So that gives you an idea how sensitive that question is, and also that the authorities don't want an open debate about that question.
Fabian Kretschmer in Beijing, thank you so much for that update. And Fabian is also monitoring the situation in Shanghai. Here, authorities have gone out of their way to distribute millions of capsules of a drug they claim helps in the treatment of COVID-19. Lianhua Qingwen is a traditional Chinese medicine capsule that has been backed by the government as an important drug in the fight against COVID-19. Scientific evidence is still inconclusive on the effectiveness of such treatments. And now there is outrage over their distribution in a city where many residents don't have access to food.
It's not the first time traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, has been used in China's battle against COVID-19. But its distribution among people in Shanghai has been unprecedented. Millions of batches of the homeopathic capsule Lianhua Qingwen were handed out to people under lockdown this month. Zoe Zong says she and her 4 flatmates received 6 boxes.
Actually, we don't take it because from the social media that I followed, it's not for curing your symptoms. It's not preventing you from the COVID itself either.
Lianhua Qingwen's ingredients include honeysuckle, licorice root and other herbs. TCM practitioners say it can help suppress fever and sore throat. But health experts warn it's not an alternative to vaccines. Doctors also say people shouldn't take the medicine unless they feel unwell. It's known to cause serious side effects, including kidney and liver disease. A leading Chinese neurologist recently hit out at the promotion of Lianhua Qingwen. He questioned why it received delivery priority in Shanghai when many people under lockdown were struggling with access to food.
We think that the government should focus more on the basic needs for their people.
Reports have also linked China's health czar Zhong Nanshan with the maker of the pill Yiling Pharmaceutical. Zhong guides China's COVID-19 policy as head of the National Health Commission. He's said to have received funding from Yiling for his own medical foundation and also signed a cooperation agreement with the company. But Beijing's also strongly backed the TCM industry, worth some 60 billion a year, according to the World Health Organization.
The promotion of this kind of medical market is something that's certainly being encouraged. The idea being that if this industry can be developed to a certain level of maturity, where some very highly effective drugs are developed, then these can become part of the more mainstream mix of different types of treatments, not only domestically but also internationally.
The debate over the use of TCM has even taken on a nationalistic tone. People criticizing it have been accused of betraying China. Politics here seem to once again be trumping scientific efforts to beat COVID-19.
And joining me now for more is Professor Paul Ulrich Unschuld. He is director of the Institute of Chinese Life Sciences at Charité Universitätsmedizin Berlin. It's one of Germany's most renowned and respected medical universities. And for years, Professor Unschuld has also been translating into English the ancient text on Chinese traditional medicine, the Ben Cao Gong Mu. Professor Unschuld, capsules of Lianhua Qingwen prepared using traditional Chinese medicine ingredients have been distributed to people in lockdown in Shanghai and elsewhere. In your experience, can traditional Chinese medicine treat COVID-19?
That's a good question. And we have just launched a research project to find out more about this. Of course, in China, you have countless experts in what we call historical Chinese medicine. Historical Chinese medicine means this is a knowledge that includes more than the so-called TCM known in Western countries now. Historical Chinese medicine is based on the observations of countless healers, practitioners, physicians, laymen, who have put down their knowledge in writing since 2000 years. And now still you have many experts in China who turn to these ancient sources outside of what is modern TCM and try to find out remedies, recipes, individual herbal substances that might be helpful. And they are quite successful in that. And there are very many who use traditional recipes to cope with what we consider the symptoms of long COVID. Of course, COVID-19 itself cannot be treated by TCM. And the Chinese are very clever in combining modern Western techniques, therapeutic techniques and approaches with traditional approaches. And
but can I just interrupt you there? I mean, are they really that clever? I mean, the reason I'm asking this is because official Chinese government bodies have claimed that traditional Chinese medicine, this is what they are saying, is effective in treatment of coronavirus. For example, in 2020, China's National Health Commission issued a notice asking hospitals to actively promote TCM during treatment of coronavirus. Then you also had the State Administration of Traditional Chinese Medicine in 2020 reportedly saying that Lianhua Qingwen, for example, was, quote, effective in treating infection. I mean, clearly there is a difference between treating infection and coping with symptoms arising out of infection, right?
Yeah, of course, that's a difference. And I mean, when I talk to Chinese experts and also to Chinese practitioners or who are knowledgeable in both Western medicine and traditional Chinese medicine, they always assert me the basic treatment must be based on modern Western biomedicine. And TCM is an adjunct. I mean, it helps you to overcome many of these symptoms that go along with a COVID-19 infection, and especially with COVID-19 aftermath, that is what we call long COVID illness or disease. But I have not heard of anyone seriously claiming that TCM is helpful. Well, helpful maybe, yes, but TCM is certainly not effective as a sole approach to cope with COVID-19 or long COVID.
Right. We'll leave it there for the time being, but thank you so much for explaining that difference there. Professor Unschuld from Charité. Thank you so much, sir.